we come from England, so England is not that far from France. There's a little tiny slip of water called La Manche, or the Channel. It's like in French, La Manche means a sleeve, and it's literally that sort of shape, where between England and France. So all of us in England learnt French from about 11 to 16. I did it for longer. I started when I was 7 and went up to 17. So France was somewhere you would go for vacations, and I went every summer as a teenager to improve my French. So France was we were very aware of France, very connected with France. And as a student, I became a Christian, like Martyn did, as students. And it did occur to me to be a missionary in France or Belgium. But then there was a need to get a job, and then I got married, and then I had children. And, you know, life goes on fast, and there's not much time to stop. But I was always really reaching out to children of the same age as my own children. So when I had a small baby, like 2 months old, I set up a club for mothers and babies. And then when I had, you know, I just moved up. So I did a preschool Christmas service at a church in England, where it was for parents and children aged, you know, 0 to 4. And then I moved up, and then then finally I was doing teenagers. And so really I was like a missionary just as my life. I would always be reaching out to people around us, always organizing events and opportunities for people in the church, but also people who were not at the church, to find out about Jesus. So that was very normal. And I think in England we expected to be missional. It was, a Christian was to reach out and care and show Jesus. It wasn't just for the professionals. So, but why did France become sort of really important? Well, obviously God. And we went to France when our oldest son was just about to start high school. He wanted to do French. And we decided to take him there when we were staying in England. And we met a friend of my brother's who is, he's now a pastor in France. And we're just saying, you know, is there a need for ordinary people to go and just be Christians in the community? And he said, yeah, we need people who just chat the gospel, you know, who make Jesus known naturally, who are not necessarily pastors or bishops, but they're just regular people who love Jesus. And, you know, to show that normal people in France can become Christians, because it's not normal, because only 0.8% are Christians now in France, but then it was 0.8%.
Less than 1%.
Less than 1%. And when we went, it was probably more like 0.6%.
Oh.
So, you know, there is a need to show what is it like to be a Christian, a normal Christian. How does a normal Christian live differently? What is different? So that I think that got both of our attention. That you didn't have to be this sort of pastor hiding in a church. You could continue the sort of work we had done, and even more relevant in France, because there were so few Christians. They just really needed people like us to live amongst the French. Also, when I was in Paris, I felt compelled to kneel in the Louvre, the big museum, and I prayed for France, and they thought I was very crazy, because it's illegal to pray in a public place, to wear a cross, to carry a Bible, or to wear a headscarf if you're Muslim. So what I did was actually breaking the law. So France is very, very secular. But we came back from that vacation in, when was it, 2004, and we both felt that we should take very seriously the possibility of going to France to be Christian workers. And so I have all of these books. Well, most of these books are my journals, and I started writing a journal back then because I felt that God was talking to us in a specific way, and felt it was important to write down some of this, because if it were just us going to France because we wanted to go to France, that's not the point, right? It has to be something that God is calling you to do, I believe. I mean, obviously we should all be witnesses. We should all be Christian, but there's a lot of investment in going to another country. And we felt that we needed to be sure that that was God's command, as it were. So right through this, there are things about France, like, for example, this is December the 10th, 2004. If you want us to move, this is a prayer to God. If you want us to move away, it will be difficult leaving the views, the weather, the friends, the schools, the beach, the trails, the church, the home, the yard, the swimming pool, and security. Yet, Lord, you left the splendor of heaven for our sakes. For you and your kingdom, we can leave everything too. Jesus, make us obedient and willing. That doesn't specifically mention France, but there are. I'll find some here, because I want you to see that this is not just our inspiration. This is God's. Because I won't find it now. So, France. Okay, here we go. This is about. Am I crazy thinking that France is somewhere where we should head? If it is, I'm worried about the education and things for the children. But Lord, help us to give all anxieties to you. Fundamentally, you know what, where, when, how, and I don't. May your will be done. Please make your will inevitable so that it is less about us and more about you. May things fall together for the good of all of us and for the extension of your kingdom in France. And so this was 2004 as well. And it's just full of this. And so I think we concluded it was really hard to get to France on our own. Martyn applied for a job that was in France, but he didn't get it. And we were sort of not stranded here, but somewhat stranded. Our children were all at high school, and we felt we couldn't just pull them away and arrive randomly. So we kept praying through the years about how are you going to get us to France. It's all, as you heard in what I wrote, it's like, it's you tell us when. You do it, not our will, your will. There's a lot to leave behind, but we'll do it. You show us. So about, when was it, 2000, and just before I went to France, 2010, I was subbing at Maranatha Christian High School. I was teaching Bible, which should have been my dream job, but it was very hard because there are a lot of people there who had to do Bible and didn't necessarily want to learn Bible. And I was there passionate and enthusiastic and going, come on, and going, So I found it very, very difficult. And at the end of this, they said they didn't want me to come back, and I thought, well, the feeling is very mutual. But just at the end, they offered me a job to teach French out of the blue, and that was ridiculous because I hadn't spoken French for very many years. For like 25 years, I had not spoken French. And but Martyn, they said, please pray about it. And I went, okay, I'll pray about it. And like, no. And Martyn, he encouraged me, given all of this, he said, I believe this is God's way of getting you to get ready to go to France. And I was like, no way, I am not qualified for this. This is embarrassing. So I left feeling very disgruntled to go to school, to go to work, where I was still subbing for the Bible. And just resolved I was going to say no to this job offer. And there was a friend there who had helped me with, I used to run a Fellowship of Christian Athletes for 6 years at a middle school. It was like an opportunity for people to hear the Bible at a local public school. And I said to this friend, please pray, this is awful. I need a job, but I've been offered to teach French and I really can't do that. Could you pray? And she prayed and she said, I think this is God preparing you to go and work in a French-speaking country. And I'm going, okay. So I went in and I now knew that I had to say yes by faith, not by ability, not by training, not by desire, but by faith. And it was terrifying. And so I went and accepted the job, and it was amazing that day I accepted because I was grading Bible papers and I had got them to learn lots of good Bible and also about a famous Christian missionary, Hudson Taylor, and that was all about living by faith. And every essay I graded that day was all about living by faith. It was extraordinary. It was like, and I'm going, we must live by faith. And I read the next essay and the next essay. It's like, Sian, take it by faith, do it by faith. Amen. And so after that, I took to sleeping with my daughter's cuddly dog, because I was so frightened. I kept waking up in the night and just like attacking Martyn because I was so stressed. It's like if you had to teach chemistry and hadn't done it, I can't do this.
Explain a cuddly dog. It's a teddy bear.
A teddy bear, like a teddy bear. It wasn't not a real dog. This was a soft toy. This was because I had to sort of, there was so much stress. But I knew I had to go to France to get ready for my job. So then I discovered that this French boy, Matthias, was already enrolled to come the following term with a connection with the church. So I called the church and said, I gather a French student is coming. Please, can you give me the details? Perhaps I can go and stay with a family, or they might have something I could do there, helping with the church or teaching English or something. I've got to get out there. So and then the church said, well, would you like that boy to stay in your house? And I went, no. And in the end, we actually had Matthias living with us. It wasn't us going after him. God was going after us. We had Matthias, which was really good because he helped in my French classes. He was my assistant. So he was the Aaron that Moses needed, to help me at the early stages of teaching. A few weeks later, literally, I was out in France having prepared Vacation Bible School to teach the Bible in French. I had puppets, I had crafts, I had all sorts of things with me. And I just got in there and I had people praying for me, and there I was teaching in French. And it just miraculous how God put it together. And it was very clear, given what we've been praying and given what God had put in our hearts, that this was God coming in and going, right now, this is the season. And if it hadn't been for what he had shown us all the way along, I would not have taken that job, because it would have been insane. But because God was in it, it was like him ushering me in to do that. And it's been a great way to get my French back, to actually really enjoy it. And so now, having done that for 3 years, it really is the time to go. Our youngest has gone to college, and we have no reason to stay here. Even my job was reduced down the number of hours for various reasons, and it's like we need to go. And a lot of people say, oh no, well, it takes a long time. Well, it doesn't need to take a long time. I feel that if the mentality is for it to take a long time, for us to go, it will. But my feeling is, these things have to happen fast. It's like when you become a Christian, within 6 months, you should be evangelizing, or within a month, ideally. You should get on with it. Not, oh, well, I've only been a Christian for 5 years. 5 years! So I think with this, it is the season, and we want people to pray for open doors. And it comes down to prayer, because Satan doesn't want us to go. So to open the doors wide, to open people's hearts wide. There are some people who have got finances they can help us with, some who have not, but God knows who. And just to just help that invitation, and it's not a you have to, but an invitation to go around a big church like ours to say, who is able? And I think, so at this point, because I'm very out there and extrovert, it's like I feel I have to put a big banner like the planes, above the beach. They have an advertising banner saying, buy this. Everyone's saying, help us. But of course, God can complete his story, and he can get that message out. But this period of transition and getting it together, trying to leave and go, is extremely painful. Getting out of somewhere is messy. I'm impatient now just to go, but we are planning to be partially self-supporting, because we can work in Europe legally. Martyn's business, part of it is transportable, the online part of his business, and I should be able to pick up some English teaching, but it is hard to anticipate. We are in a position of having to seek financial help, and I think that's God's intention. You know, he doesn't want us to be just a little independent unit there. He wants us to be a ministry of the church. And I think he wants the church to enjoy that, but for us to feel connected. So that is where we're at, and God has got us this far. And yeah, it's hard to leave, but we know it's right, and we know there's huge amounts to do. Lots of amazing Bible verses, just again and again reminding God is the one who will supply. This is God's work. Just amazing. But at the same time, the reality of having to write letters and having to attract attention, it's like, no. So yeah, so the big need is pray that the right people hear, and at the right time, and that we need to know we can go like by June, because I have to give in my notice at school. We have to buy tickets. You know, most people want to know about if they're going away overseas for their summer vacation, and you know, we're going to leave for a new life. So, you know, it's a little unsettling. But I think a friend of ours in England said that she felt that, like the Israelites going into the Promised Land with the Ark of the Covenant being led by Joshua, you know, they had to step on the River Jordan and then open the gate. Exactly.
Hallelujah.
So they have to step in faith. So I think we are just moving forward with the Ark, with Jesus, and trusting that it will happen from his sources.
Thank you.
So that's where we're at.
Amen.